Well, it happened again. It happened once again. Donald Trump is going to be the president of the United States once again. He's going to be the second president in American history to lose re-election and then win a second non-consecutive term. The first one, of course, being Grover Cleveland in 1892. So, what happened? How did we get this election outcome? Well, first off, I just want to say this is the third time I've accurately predicted a presidential election because I stood by with my prediction saying Trump would be the 47th president, despite that last minute Iowa poll that uh kind of threw that for a loop, but I stood by that prediction. And my gut feeling that Kamala Harris would benefit from the Roe v. Wade backlash, it turned out not to be true. Donald Trump won this election, and honestly, he really. This was a much more decisive win than his 2016 victory. I mean, this is. A lot of people I've seen are trying to spin this as somehow good for Democrats. Anybody who's saying this, they are just really they're doing what Trump supporters did after they lost in 2020. They're huffing that copium. So now it's Democrats Democrats time to cope. And yeah, so how did this happen? How did Donald Trump not just win, but win more than he won in 2016 and this time actually win the popular vote, something that everyone insisted he couldn't do. So the first thing is let's just be entirely clear. Donald Trump, despite what everyone said about him when he was running in 2016, is a very, very durable, skilled politician. He's a great salesman, he's a great showman. And honestly, I'm this is gonna be a controversial take. He really is like a genius in one regard. He's a perfect marketer. He's a perfect marketer. Perfect marketer. And he knew exactly how to appeal to the American populace at this moment in time. And he was greatly assisted by the Democratic Party not learning a single thing from why they barely won in 2020 in the first place. Democrats, they had so many wonderful ideas about how the country was now and how Donald Trump was just an aberration, how Trump, I mean, was just he only appealed to a certain section of the population, you know? It's like there's no way Donald Trump could win easily. There's no way Donald Trump could win easily. My prediction was he would win because of Pennsylvania. And I guess that was kind of true because Pennsylvania is the state that put him over 270. But that's not why he won, actually, because he swept all seven of the swing states. Kamala Harris did not win a single swing state. And not only did she not win a single swing state, she made blue states competitive. New Jersey was within 5 points. New York was within, I believe, 15 points. And that's like a 30-point Democrat state. Even in California, she's not going to break 60%. California, Donald Trump made inroads in California. That's why she's losing the popular vote by a few million votes. And this was the worst performance by the Democratic Party on the presidential level since 1988, both in the Electoral College, and I'm not sure if this popular vote win is more or less than 2004 because not all of California, Oregon, and Washington and Alaska have been counted. Most of the votes in like the swing states are counted now, but there's still more votes to be counted. So we'll see what Trump's margin looks like, but he's going to win the popular vote. So Democrats can't even. I mean, there was all of these thoughts about how Donald Trump is going to need to steal this election to win. He's going to try to do a coup to win. No, he didn't need to do that because Democrats really convinced themselves that they were a better party than they actually were. And why was this? Well, the first thing was Joe Biden was a very unpopular president. He was incredibly unpopular. And look, I thought Donald Trump he's unpopular himself. He has a negative approval. And I thought maybe that'll save Democrats because 2022 turned out the way it did. Nope. Nope, not at all. Turns out when you're an unpopular president and you're not on the top of the ticket, you drag the party down. That's how it went for George W. Bush in 2008 when Obama won by a landslide. And Joe Biden ran for re-election despite being really unpopular. I mean, his approval rating was matching that of Jimmy Carter's when he ran for re-election despite being unpopular. And then, very last minute, with a few months to go, he decides to drop out, and then he basically just hands his nomination and his campaign to Kamala Harris. Now, look, I really just want to say it's kind of obvious now, but this was kind of just avoided by many people because people just didn't want to believe this for some reason. Kamala Harris is just not as likable as people really wanted to believe. I mean, I can't believe that when Kamala Harris was made the nominee, there were actually people saying, "Oh, this is exactly what Obama 2008 felt like." Well, no, because Obama won in 2008. Kamala Harris, uh, kind of Donald Trump just took a sledgehammer to her face in this election. I mean, it was over by the time it was 10 o'clock. By the time it was 10 o'clock, the consensus was Trump was going to win. There was just, everything was stacked against Kamala. Donald Trump managed to win. I didn't think Donald Trump could sweep all 7 swing states, but no, he did. And my thoughts of Kamala Harris, somewhat improving her campaign to a degree and generating enthusiasm because that's what I was seeing. No, it turns out that the way I was feeling about Kamala Harris seemed to be the case for many Americans. It turns out that a San Francisco coastal elite who really was a media creation. I mean, her 2020 campaign when she ran for the primary, it fell apart before a vote was cast. That fell apart. She couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. She was handed the nomination, so there was no vetting process. And if there was, she probably wouldn't have won. And then what did she do? Well, as I said, she literally ran on nothing. Guys, I just want to make it entirely clear. Not having a policy platform on her website, I know maybe that wasn't the deciding factor, right? Maybe that wasn't the deciding factor, but the fact that she ran on nothing but vibes just showed really how tone deaf the Democratic Party has become. I mean, they literally convinced themselves that because Kamala Harris was drawing large crowds at her events, that meant she was going to win. And then they said, "Oh, we have an amazing ground game and we have all these volunteers knocking on doors." Yeah, it turns out that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You know why? Because knocking on doors doesn't mean too much because again, I mean, this is literally what happens. This is what happens when you think you can just run on nothing. And there were other factors at play too. It's just not the factors Democrats thought would be at play. Democrats, they thought so many things that just didn't come true. The first thing they thought, inflation. That has been going down. Look at the stock market. Everything is up. But what people don't know about inflation, and conservatives don't know this either, and by the way, Donald Trump understood this, and that's why he ran on it, because he knows what Americans vote on. Because Donald Trump, for all of his flaws, he understands that people vote based on how their lives are going, and inflation really made it hard for anyone to feel the economy was good. The economy was rated poorly, and Democrats, what did they do? They didn't really seem to care. They were like, "Oh, look at the unemployment rate, look at the stock market, look at everything good." Now, inflation, for people who don't know what inflation is not prices going up and down. Donald Trump did a good job making it seem like inflation is high. Inflation is not high right now, but the big 9% inflation in 2021, yeah, if that has to come down, even if that came down fast, people did not experience growth. People did not see their financial gains go up. Why? Because prices do not go down when inflation goes down. Inflation simply means how long a dollar depreciates its value over a year. Guess what? The prices are still high up, and Democrats, they really didn't they didn't really do much on this. Kamala Harris, it took her weeks to come out with a plan to target price gouging. And by the way, her plan to target price gouging, she talked nothing about it. What was her plan to target price gouging? Just tell them to stop? Just tell them to stop. You're president. You can't make them stop. There was no substance in that. She said, I'm going to target price gouging. Okay, awesome. Voters do not, like, you have to explain that more. You have to message that more. But really, it's just, she didn't run on that either. She ran on, really, if we're being honest, all she ran on was, we're not going back, joy, which, again, really out of touch because what is the joy when you haven't felt any financial gain? What else did they run on? Oh, again, abortion. They really, really bet hard on abortion being a top issue. It was not a top issue. It was 14% of voters' top issue. Way down from the midterms. But they really thought that that would be a winning message. You know, they didn't think, oh, maybe that's not going to be the winning message. Abortion, immigration. And look, immigration is just a very, very. That was just a huge win for Trump, mainly because Trump ran on being hard on the border. He said, I'm going to do mass deportations. And people, that is an extreme policy, but guess what? The border is a serious problem. There is a huge migrant problem. And Democrats, they really took the bait on that issue earlier this year when a bill came up. Republicans got them to back a far-right border bill. So piss off your base because most Democrats don't support that. And just basically get the football pulled from under you by Republicans. Perfect. What else? Democracy. Calling Donald Trump a fascist. Saying, oh, he's just an authoritarian, guys. This is he's a danger to our democracy. Most voters don't think that, though. They don't think that. They don't think he's a danger to democracy. They don't think that. It's just insane. And by the way, really amazing for your democracy message to just hand someone the nomination to your party. No primary was needed, right? That's very democratic. Yeah, it really undercut the message. And, God, Kamala Harris didn't, like, on healthcare, she said, I believe healthcare is a right. Well, if you believed healthcare is a right, you wouldn't have walked back your support for Medicare for all. You wouldn't have. It was so, this campaign, this was the campaign that really just was so out of touch. So out of touch. She went to Houston with Beyonce. She didn't do any podcast interviews. She didn't try to seem like a normal person. She seemed like a polished politician. And the one podcast she goes on is Call Her Daddy. The podcast primarily seen by, let's just be entirely honest, affluent women. And guess what? Despite all of that, how did women voters vote? They didn't really shift away from Trump. They kind of voted for Trump at similar margins to 2020. And by the way, another just amazing calculation by Kamala Harris. This is something that I really hope Democrats understand. Though they're not going to understand because Democrats don't learn from their mistakes. Republicans don't learn from their mistakes. No party learns after they lose. Is appealing to Republicans. Listen, I'm sorry to say this to any Democrat who really thought that, oh, Republicans are going to walk away from Donald Trump. She palled around with Liz Cheney, thanked Dick Cheney for his work when he was vice president. There was a group called Republicans for Harris. There was this grift group that a bunch of Democrat boomers keep giving their damn money to called the Lincoln Project. All these Republican groups, these anti-Trump Republicans, all 5 of them gave Democrats the illusion that they were going to win a block of Republican votes. And what ended up happening? Oh, all Republicans voted for Trump. Look at the exit polls. Donald Trump got pretty much all Republican votes. As many Democrats, which were 5, voted for Trump as Republicans voted for Harris. Like, it's just there was so much she did wrong, and it's incredible. It's incredible. It's incredible. Independent voters, by the way. And this was another one that Democrats really thought to themselves, oh, Donald Trump isn't going to win independence. He's not going to get any chunk of independence. They're going to vote overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. I remember having talks with people on Twitter who thought, oh, Kamala Harris is going to get like 70% of independence. Yeah, independence pretty much broke 50-50 because independent does not mean you're moderate. No, that just means you're not affiliated with either party. They voted as much for Trump as they voted for Harris. But it's incredible. It's incredible. And instead of trying to appeal to Democrats, what did Kamala Harris do? She spent more time with Republicans and just with every celebrity she could think of. Like a bunch of celebrities just came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. I actually think that the Harris campaign saw Charlie XCX tweet Kamala as brat and they thought this is going to win us the White House. No, that's not how you win elections. Biden did not win off of that. Obama did not win off of that. This was literally just Kamala Harris's campaign. And again, it's not just Kamala Harris, but this was the candidate that was on the ballot. They really were just out of touch, and they received a very, very brutal reality check by the American public that they were out of touch. Donald Trump ran on issues that Americans could appeal to. Prices are up, gas is up, foreign policy. The Israel-Palestine war really pissed off a lot of Democrats, and that was mostly Biden's fault, but Kamala Harris didn't do anything. Every time there was a heckler at her rally, she would smugly say, oh, if you want Trump to win, I'm speaking. If you want Trump to win, get out of here, I'm speaking. Yeah, well, that's the Democratic Party. They've become the party of the coastal urban elites and the affluent college educated voter, which this election just showed not a winning coalition because the average American is not a affluent douchebag who reads these papers every morning, who snidely thinks to themselves, "Oh, look at these idiots! Don't they know the graphs going up are just so out of touch, so out of touch?" That's the story of the Democrats. Donald Trump managed to read the electorate. He managed in those Rust Belt states. It was white working class voters in 2016 that swung Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania to Trump. This time, this time Donald Trump, he improved among pretty much every demographic. Donald Trump tied almost tied her with Hispanic voters. That's like a 65-30 group for Democrats. No, Trump tied her with them. Trump tied her with them. With black voters, it was less of an improvement, but Trump still increased, especially with black men. Um, like it's incredible. And another thing that just really ices this is income brackets. This is probably the first election where I've noticed this. Donald Trump improved among poor Americans, working class Americans. If your income was under 100K, you you were more likely to vote for Trump this election. Who was Kamala Harris's income bracket? Upper middle class people. Incredible. Looks like that didn't win you the election. Looks like that didn't win you the election. Looks like running on nothing gets you this result. But look, outside of Kamala Harris, because it's not just her. It is just a case. Joe Biden was not a good president. And this electoral outcome really solidifies that. Joe Biden was a terrible president. Just abysmal president who really, really could not manage anything. Really couldn't manage the anger in the American populace. People who wanted change. People who wanted fundamental improvements. He couldn't do it. He couldn't get things done in a way that mattered he got a few good bills done. The Inflation Reduction Act was probably his most noteworthy bill, but he really couldn't message it. And again, he shouldn't have ran. He should have allowed a primary to happen, and maybe a Democrat would have come out of it who would have maybe done better against Trump. But again, this really just felt like a rejection of the Democratic Party by the country. They lost the popular vote, they lost the Senate, and they were expecting to hold the House or to flip the House because they lost it in 2022. Nope. The House looks like it's going to go Republican. They're going to hold that. So Democrats basically just lost. They lost. They lost. There's no way to come out of this election saying that anything was good for Democrats. They couldn't find a message. They came across as out of touch. They came across as annoying. They came across as elitist. And Donald Trump did not. Donald Trump managed to appeal to people. Donald Trump managed to be there. He managed to literally people. It's crazy. They mocked his McDonald's appearance when he worked the shift at McDonald's, which he that was in retrospect a good act. They mocked him when he appeared in a garbage truck because Biden made the great decision to say Trump supporters are garbage. And furthermore, Trump, he has a charisma to him that nobody really matches. And that's what people want. They want something chaotic, they want something that's going to change things. They want change. That's what Americans want because that's just how this country is at this point. And Democrats completely misread every single thing about this. Democrats got one lucky midterm where it wasn't a red wave. It just meant the red wave was delayed. And that's why Donald Trump won this election because he knew what mattered. He knew how to appeal to voters, and Democrats did not. And it turns out that really everyone was insular. Every single person was insular. Every single person who supported her, like every person who supported her online, every single celebrity, every pundit who thought, "Oh, she's got this in the bag. Oh, we've got the vibes. We've got the joy. We've got everything." No, no, you didn't. You came across as insufferable. You came across as pretentious, fake. It's it's honestly it's really sort of poetic. It's really poetic. It's a fitting ending to the to the bubble that was built up by the Democratic Party. And look, it's really hard for me to have like a lot of I'm going to have a lot of trust going forward with a lot of people who told me for months that there was nothing wrong with Kamala Harris, that this was good, that she was doing a good job. No, no, she didn't. She didn't do a good job. This campaign was so terrible. It was so bad. It was just guys, I wasn't even on Trump's side, and I found Kamala Harris to be annoying, and I found her to be just I couldn't listen to her. She just seemed so pretentious. Everything, the way she spoke at that town hall a few weeks ago, where she sounded like she was pleading. Just an incredible failure by the Democratic Party, by the pundit class. I really, really hope this is the final election, and it won't be, but I really hope this is the final election where the decisions are being made by the pundit class, the elite class, all of these assholes who think that they know what Americans want. Because they don't. They don't. They don't. They don't understand. They don't understand what people want. They don't understand how to win elections. You know, it I said Something that I said was that Donald Trump was a good friend to the Democrats because he was so controversial and unpopular. Nope. Nope. Turns out that Donald Trump being controversial was actually a plus because people looked at that and they looked at Kamala Harris and they thought Kamala Harris is fake as hell. Donald Trump, this guy right here, I want this guy. He seems like he's the strong man who's going to fight for me. He's the strong man who's going to cause a ruckus, make change. And guess what? Guess what? That's what people wanted. That's what won. And that's something Democrats are really going to have to learn if they want to improve from this because guess what? Donald Trump is not going to be on the ballot in 2028 and you're not going to be able it didn't work. It didn't work. Saying Donald Trump is bad was not a winning message. It turns out that only has a 50%. No, it has a 33% success rate now. And look, it's just incredible how it's just it's astonishing how underestimated Trump was every step of the way. Donald Trump, after losing in 2020, everyone was saying, "Oh, he's not going to run again." I knew he was going to run again from the moment he lost. From the moment he lost, and then everyone was like, "No, he's not going to run again. Then he's not going to win again. He's not going to be president again. He's not going to win the popular vote." God, I remember seeing a Vox video that said, "Oh, Republicans are just never winning the popular vote again, and that's why they're turning on democracy because they can't win." Nope, nope, that's not what it was. That's not what it was. That's not what it was. That's what you thought it was. That's what you thought it was because you thought you were invincible and that people liked you. No, they don't like you. And really they deserve all of this. They deserve this. They deserve literally their worst loss in almost 40 years. Like this is yeah, that's what I have to say about this election. I'll have a few more videos about this because I want to also talk about what people are now saying in the aftermath, just to show you that really nobody's gonna learn anything from this, despite the lesson being very clear. But this video is going on way too long, and I'm just ranting at this point. It's incredible. Donald Trump got away with it. He he did every single thing that he was told he could not. Everything that we were told Donald Trump couldn't do, he did. He did, and he did easily. Easily. And yep, that's a wrap.